And you know, the reason we're doing this is global, and the representation is global. And on the train, since we've been here and walking around with Investigate 9/11 shirts on, people have recognized some members of the group. People have stopped us everywhere to talk with us about it and tell us what they know. So, in spite of what we might hear, that we're a small group, we're looking at this information, or that it doesn't matter, what we've just been proven to us again this week is that we really are everyone, and we really are everywhere. And this issue is no less important than it was then. And in fact, it's growing, and more people are coming to an understanding that this is a critically important issue. So especially with Afghanistan and Iraq continuing, now drone bombings of civilians all over Pakistan, this loss of civil liberties continuing on a daily basis is very present. It's important that we're here, and I just wanted to thank you all for coming here because of that. I would like to introduce now John Bursill, who is the principal organizer of the conference. He's a licensed aircraft maintenance engineer for over 20 years, qualified on a majority of Boeing passenger jets. John's involvement started in January 2006 when he received an email link to a version of Loose Change. He spent the next 3 months immersed in research, trying to prove it wrong. He says he was able to prove about 10% of what was in that early film wrong. Other than that, he couldn't. And that got him started on this. He got quiet about it for a while. He mulled it around. Then he'd always had suspicions about what happened that day, but that sunk in at that point, which is a process that a lot of us have been through. And it finally sinks in, and you have to sit with that and say, now what? So he spent about 3 months trying to disprove it, couldn't, got quiet. In February of 2007, he learned of the 11th of every month campaign, founded by Cosmos of Truth Action, became involved and organized the first Sydney 11th campaign in April of 2007. The work of Stephen Jones and Kevin Ryan are what compelled him to finally really get involved. That was his last straw. He has been the principal organizer of the Australian ongoing actions in Sydney and has been a wonderful coordinator throughout the continent. He's in constant touch with the United States. He's very encouraging to us because he's very energetic and focused. We appreciate him. He organized the Truth Now tour in March of 2008, a large public meeting called Delusion 9/11 in September of 2008, and of course now the Hard Evidence tour. He has spoken at all sorts of lectures and film screenings for community groups, etc. And we really honor and appreciate John's work. And with that, John Bursill.
Thank you all for coming today. A little bit behind schedule due to some technical difficulties, but they've all been sorted out now. Thanks very much for coming. It's very, very difficult to get people here. You are the 1% of the 1%. So it's not a very large number of people. We have distributed over 10,000 flyers for this event and advertised where we've been able and where we've been allowed. With one single interview or some sort of mainstream attention during the peak period in the evening, we would have packed this venue in a few hours. So the reason we just have a full venue today is the hard work of the activists that have got on the street and handed out flyers about this event. The people who've put the press releases together and sent them out. We do have some journalists in the crowd today, so we wish them well and we hope they learn something and we hope they have the courage to present the information to the public. Got a little feed from the front of house. Thank you. Today I'm introducing Richard Gage, who obviously many of you will be aware of, represents a very, very large group of architects and engineers now, including many, many structural engineers, in excess of 30 structural engineers. Many doctors of architecture, including our own Dr. David Leifer of Sydney University, who has lectured on the subject of the World Trade Center collapse 2 times now, and has actually offered up his job and his tenure at the university if someone can prove that he's wrong. Not many people are willing to step forward and prove us wrong. Many are like to mock us in the background. or occasionally in public. In Australia, we haven't received much press at all, good or bad. I think most journalists realise they will be revealed one day. When that day is, we don't really know. But anyway, I won't go on too much. I'll have a chance to speak tomorrow. I hope you all try to get here tomorrow for tomorrow's event. We're looking at psychological aspects of 9/11. We're looking at disinformation campaigns that are used to discredit us. We know we're logical, reasoning people, the mainstream of this movement, but there are people on the fringe that, on the fringe of the fringe maybe, like the 1% of the 1%, that do say some strange things from time to time. But please look at Richard Gage's work, look at Stephen Jones's work, look at the work that the academics, the credible academics, not the ones that make outrageous claims, but the ones that present peer-reviewed and published reports to the public. They're the ones you should take notice of. Anyway, so I'll introduce Richard. Our speaker this afternoon has been a practicing architect for over 20 years in the San Francisco Bay Area and is a member of the prestigious American Institute of Architects. He's a professional, willing to place his credibility and reputation on the line, as many of us have, and has endured substantial sacrifice for this campaign. He's a tireless and tenacious worker. Actually, he's pretty amazing. He's an amazing man. We're very glad to have him here today. He's willing to ask the questions that many won't ask and discover the truths that many don't want to see. Anyway, architects and engineers is a rising force. We hope that you will join architects and engineers and become a sustaining member, because Richard is one of the very, very lucky people in this movement that has the ability to work full-time for this cause, and he's doing such an exceptional job that I hope you support him. So becoming a sustaining member is only a small contribution on a monthly basis, allows him to travel the world and educate people and do what the mainstream media will not. His deep concern about the destruction of the 3 World Trade Center high-rises on 9/11, 3 towers, including Building 7. And after hearing a conversation with Bonnie Tyler on Guns and Butter Radio in the US, he was listening to David Ray Griffin, who actually sent his, I suppose, apologies for not being able to make it today. But we were interested in having him here, but it's just a little expensive. But anyway, we've done the best we can. But he wishes he was here today. It was his conversation with Bonnie Tyler about the 9/11 events that sparked Richard's interest, and he fell down the hole that many of us have, and he's discovered things since then that have changed his life. Architects and Engineers now numbers 960 architects and engineers and 5,000 others, and we wish you all to join. They're all demanding a new investigation of these catastrophic structural failures. Our speaker, Richard Gage, has presented to over 100 packed audiences, between 200 to 600 people, all around the world, and now he's conducting an Australasia tour. After he leaves here, he will be heading to Melbourne on Tuesday, then to Brisbane as part of the Hard Evidence Tour Down Under 2009, and then on to Wellington in New Zealand, where he was picking up a few other dates. We'll have an interview there with Kim Hill from the Radio National, she's a very prestigious journalist. He also then tours on to a 6-state tour through December in Japan, where he will be meeting with Yukisa Fujita, the senator we had here last year, who was the current director of the Japanese Defence Committee, and didn't get one word in our press that the senator and director of the Japanese Defence and Foreign Affairs Committee attended this country, which is astounding, but it shows you the power of 9/11, the power of the silence that it seems to cause in the journalistic fields. Anyway, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce a great patriot of his nation and a great truth sayer, Richard Gage. Hi.